Listen, you know, it's my biggest problem. My biggest problem is my fans and them. Last year they come knocking down my door. Black Stallion, Black Stallion. I said, well, what happened? They said, listen this. You know, all the other singers just sit down and write a little smut now and then. You mean you can't write one for we? I said, all right. I can write this smut for them. I sit down, I take up my pen, and I take up my paper. I start to write my smut. Play the thing, play. 1983, my fans beg for a favor. I decide to help them, so I write this soca. Last year they come back with a different story. They say they want something smutty about Gino Dorothy. Now on my fans, I know your future depend. So I sit down to write this smut only to please them. But as I take up my pen and my piece of paper, and I write out the first verse, listen what I remember. Oil money come, oil money go. Poor people remain on the pavement and ghetto. When Mr. Divider start to divide the bread equally, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso about Dorothy. How I jam she, how she jam me, how we back, bread and we roll back. But once my people keep fighting for equal share of the cake, wait Dorothy, wait Dorothy, take up the challenge just to prove to the lot. I decide to show them I could write a smut about this Dorothy woman who come down to the island and we happening with Bachi when we come out the steel band. Look, I done hire two girls to put on some short thing. Was to come on stage and show how Dorothy whining. But it's a wrong thing I'm doing. So when I strike up the first note, suppose Jaja punish me with a stroke in my one throat. Because the Ku Klux Klan office still Alabama and in Brixton, England, my people still under pressure. Anytime I see that South Africans are free, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso about Dorothy. Oh, I jam she, and she jam me. Oh, we back, and we roll back. But once my people keep fighting with so much children life at stake, wait, Dorothy, wait, Dorothy, passing to London, and you're sure to hear it. They just call calypso music, rum music. They say all entertainer today using the culture to help the people plan a better future. In this world today of nuclear and revolution, the calypso man still singing about rum and woman. But I'm just making sure that when they run in their big mouth, in their Black Stallion music, that they talking about. Because them politicians still can form a federation. So much meat in the hole in Caribbean people still suffering. Anytime I see a true West Indian unity, yes, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso about Dorothy. Oh, she jam me, and I jam she. Oh, we back, and we roll back. But once my people suffering with so much children life at stake, wait, Dorothy, wait, Dorothy. for verse and chorus is too much of lyrics. So sit down and write smart in this moment of crisis. My head saying yes, but my heart saying no. And I just follow my heart when it comes to writing Kaiso. Now to all my fans who want smart, I'm very sorry. But my pleasure does always come second to my duty. And my duty is to make sure that my people life happy. And anytime that thing happen, we go jam down Dorothy. Because so much of famine in Ethiopia, assassination, I say going on in India. Anytime I don't have to live with them frightful things around me, yes, I go in and finish the whole damn Calypso ball, Dorothy. Oh, I jam she, and she jam me. Oh, we back, and we roll back. But once my people suffering for an equal share of the cake. Wait, Dorothy, wait, Dorothy, wait.
Good evening to you. Good evening to you. Wait, Dorothy, wait. You have to get your priorities right, you know. Once my people suffering for an equal share of the cake. Wait, Dorothy, wait. Once Mr. Divider don't divide the bread equally. Wait, Dorothy, wait. Look what's going on in Gaza right now. And you want me to sing about smut? Wait, Dorothy, wait. Look what's going on in Haiti right now. And you want me to sing about how Dorothy winding up? No. Let me fix Haiti first. Let me fix Gaza. Let me fix Guyana. When Mr. Divider start dividing the bread equally in Guyana, then I'm going to sing about Dorothy. But until these dreadful things, so long as these dreadful things keep going on, wait, Dorothy, wait. The Calypsonian, get your priorities right. That's what the Calypsonian is saying there. Get your priorities right. Get your priorities right. I come up in left-wing politics, you know, Marxists and all those things. I accept Marx, critique of capitalism, left wing, and so on. Class politics, multiracial politics, and so on. You know, one come up in that. And Marxism was what used to guide us, and still guides us. But when I look at my Guyana and I see teachers who are mostly African being kicked around like a football by the government. Wait, Marxism, wait. When I see public servants who are mostly of one color being kicked around by the government, I say, wait, Marxism, wait, I'm going to come back to you. When I look around and I see they're dividing the bread that comes from oil and gas, they're giving one group so much and giving one group so little. I say, wait, Marxism, I'm going to come back to you. When I look around and I see they're spitting in black women's faces in Guyana, nobody facing the law, because if I say, wait, Marxism, wait, you can't explain that. When I see the licking down people house in Moko, black people house in Moko, I say, wait, Marxism, wait. You can't explain why they're licking down the houses in Moko. When I see they're licking down the houses in Linden, and they're treating Linden people who are mostly of a certain ethnic group, I say, Marxism, you wait. wait. You can explain that. When I see they shoot down Peter Headley, and they shoot down Orrin Boston, and they shoot down Quindon Bacchus, and all of them is of a certain race. I said to Marxism, you wait. You can explain that. Good evening, my brothers and sisters. There is a time and season for everything. Everything. Wait, Dorothy, wait. Wait, Dorothy, wait. There's a time and season for everything. Wait, Dorothy, wait. Some people want you to be the same thing every day. But sometimes you have to tell Dorothy, wait. Wait, Dorothy, wait. Wait, Dorothy, wait.
I decide to help them, so I write this soca. Last year they come back with a different story. They say they want something smutty about Gino Dorothy. Now on my fans, you know your future depend. So I sit down to write this smut only to please them. But as I take up my pen and my piece of paper and I write out the first verse, listen what I remember. Oil money come, oil money go. Poor people remain on the pavement and ghetto. When Mr. Divider start to divide the bread equally, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso about Dorothy. How I jam she, how she jam me, how we back, bread and we roll back. But once my people keep fighting for equal share of the cake, wait Dorothy, wait Dorothy, I take up the challenge just to prove to the lot. I decide to show them I could write a smut about this Dorothy woman who come down to the island and we happening with Bachi when we come out the steel band. Look, I done hire two girls to put on some short thing. Was to come on stage and show about Dorothy whining. But it's a wrong thing I'm doing. So when I strike up the first note, suppose judge punish me with a stroke in my one throat. Because the Ku Klux Klan office still Alabama and in Brixton, England, my people still under pressure. Anytime I see that South Africans are free, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso about Dorothy. Oh, I jam she, and she jam me. Oh, we back, and we roll back. But once my people keep fighting with so much children life at stake, wait, Dorothy, wait, Dorothy, wait. Passing to London, and you're sure to hear it. They just call calypso music, rum music. They say all entertainer today using the culture to help the people plan a better future. In this world today of nuclear and revolution, the calypso man still singing about rum and woman. But I'm just making sure that when they run in the big mouth, it's a black stallion music that they talking about. Because them politicians still can't form a federation. So much meat in the hole in Caribbean people still suffering. Anytime I see a true West Indian unity, yes, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso bomb. Dorothy, oh, she jam me, and I jam she. Oh, we back, and we roll back. But once my people suffering with so much children life at stake.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You see, the word identity comes from identifying with. I like to identify with Black Stallion. There's a time and season for everything. There's a time for jam back on Dorothy and wind up on Dorothy. And there's a time to make sure the bread divided equally. Good evening and Good Fridays today. We don't say Happy Good Friday, but we recognize Good Friday. I'm an Anglican. We may not know, we cannot tell what pains he had to bear, but we do know he died for us. He hung and suffered there. You all see, I still remember my Anglican verses. We African people, Easter is important for us. Christ died on the cross, the crucifixion, the suffering. And then on the third day he rose. Oh, just as we were on that slave plantation. We were crucified. But on the third day, on that emancipation day, we rose like Christ. Like Christ. That is why Easter, don't matter what we do, I think they still do it. The best cause you can find is for Easter Sunday. And Good Friday too, the longest service. I think it's the same for all churches. Well, you see the take off. When Father take off in that Good Friday, and your belly going grew. And when you go home, you can't eat because you're supposed to fast on Good Friday until. Dr. Adams, good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Hines, and to all our great listeners. I was having some technical challenges there.
Yes, I know. Any cross buns down there in Tennessee?
Nah, that might have to come all the way. Well, I guess you can get it in New York.
Or Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yes.
I envy you in that regard.
Over here in Arizona, we have a lady, a grandma that's make the cross buns for us. She hasn't been feeling well in recent times, but she said she's going to get up and make the cross buns. So I expect to get my cross buns before the day out.
That's nice.
Yes, it's Good Friday. And it's these things, Dr. Adams, I usually say Christmas and Good Friday and Pagua and Diwali and those things now are more than just religious observances. They've become cultural to us, no?
Absolutely. Yep, no question. You were absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have and we still observe. My son's and his family is over for the weekend, so we still observe it as a special time, and we respect it. So this weekend is a special weekend for us.
Yes. And of course, the symbolism of the crucifixion and the rising from the ashes, the betrayal of Christ. That story, the Easter story is so pregnant with symbolism for our lives today, yesterday, and for the future. Yes, forever. Dr. Adams, welcome to all of you. I know it's Good Friday night, and people do observe it. Good Friday is a quiet day, but we take the chance knowing that it's after 6. And these days, after 6 is good time to come out and break the Good Friday theme, because it's only going to last because tomorrow is Holy Saturday, and Sunday is Easter Sunday. And then we just add on the extra day to it, Easter Monday.
Easter Monday.
Hey. Only the other day was Ash Wednesday. To me, this year is gallop. I mean, only yesterday was Ash Wednesday. And from Ash Wednesday to Good Friday is 40 days.
Yeah,
40 days and 40
40
nights.
nights. That's
He
right.
was fasting in the wild. It's 40 days and 40 nights already, Dr.
Yeah,
Adams.
yeah, I know. No, you're not kidding. So I think it was only yesterday I was telling my wife I cannot believe that we are in April. And
Yes,
3 months have already just disappeared. We are already in April. This year is really moving.
it's really moving. And they explained to me, they said this is leap year. So everything changed up.
Yeah.
If you notice, Pagwa come before Easter this year.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
Pagwa
Yeah.
usually come after Easter.
Awesome.
Yes, but the moon and the leap year and all of those things, it's here. But it's moving because we had about 3 years when things seem to be a standstill because of the
Yes.
pandemic. So
COVID, yes,
it's good to
yes.
see time
Back to
galloping.
normal.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Adams, we continue to live in serious times as far
Yes.
as our Caribbean is concerned, as far as our Guyana is
It's good
concerned.
song.
Um,
Yes.
let's talk. We over the past couple of days, we have had the spy chief from the United States dropping into Guyana. We have had former President Bill Clinton dropping into Guyana. I was telling the audience last night that I was listening to the commentary on Clinton, Obama, and Biden in New York. And they were saying, President Clinton looks fit. He just came back from an overseas trip to Guyana. And here he is on another event. And I said, Guyana? Guyana?
Yeah.
Guyana? My Guyana in the big league? And then, of
Yes.
course, the French foreign minister came. And
Yes.
he didn't just come, he said, we are opening an embassy here.
Yes.
And we have been trying to figure out for our audience why all of a sudden we have all these big time people, as we would call them, international people, who start people coming to our little country. Dr. Adams, can you put your wisdom to work and explain for us what is happening?
I wish I wish all of my exams throughout my career, my academic career, was as easy as this question. I- it's it's one word, Dr. Hines. OIL.
Yeah.
OIL. And especially at this time, with the the war that is going on in Ukraine. Remember, Biden, Mr. Biden, or President Biden, who leads the Western world, if you will, or the free world, if you will. Remember when this war broke, there was a pending crisis, if it had already started, in terms of energy supply for Europe. And you remember Mr. Biden had to take it on as the leader of the Western world to go look to see where they can find oil. You remember even Venezuela gotta bring them back into the fold so that they can start producing to supply that oil. Guyana became a big player also. So it's about all. And of course, when I say I don't mean to say it in a derogatory way. Again, it's about the United States and other countries looking after their interests, regardless of how compromising it may be and tolerating of certain countries. I mean, that's the reason why we've got such relationships that we've got to tolerate even with the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, regardless of of their their misgivings and everything else. We've got to keep that relationship, because energy is a major part of even the United States. We've got to develop on we got to depend upon them. So to answer your question, it's all about oil and oil security, to make that oil. We've got stability in the country. However, um these guys are also there, such as the CIA. It was the CIA, or it was the
CIA,
CIA.
CIA.
Yeah, but those guys are also there. Remember now, the other thing that happens all the time, when you have companies such as Exxon and the big American companies, when when they've got these major investments in these countries, they're also there to make sure that their interests are being protected. And that's the reason why I said from day one, I had no fear. Venezuela was not going to be that crazy to even attack the Guyana. It was, they were posturing really to get as much as they can, even setting up this Essequibo as this new state. um it's a gain in terms of posturing, and they recognize that we probably have weak leadership, but they cannot do anything that is substantial. But when they do these type of things, what they do, they drive fear into investors coming into Ghana. But I have no fear that they're ever going to invade. They're not going to be that stupid. But when they do these type of things, it's about the investors, and that was why we had the Argyle conference. By the way, and I've said this on your show before. I guarantee you that the United States was behind that, because you remember he what Maduro was threatening was that he's going to chase out all the investors and all. So they had to have that meeting. If you notice, he hadn't even mentioned such a thing anymore about in terms of interfering with investors. And so this here is to establish their foothold in because of this oil, and they've got to protect that supply. Because remember, there are other players here, so they're in competition. You've got China and even Russia, especially with Venezuela right next to our border, because of course, Venezuela is aligned to Russia. So there's a lot of geopolitics that are playing out. And you know what drives geopolitics? It's a lot of it has to do with oil. So that's what Ghana has become a player here because we've been producing oil. And so you're getting back to answer your question with one word, Dr. Hines, it is oil.
Oil. It's oil. The Sankey we grew up on, a little more oil in my lamp.
To keep it burning.
A little bit more oil in my lamp, I pray. A little bit more oil in my lamp. No, we ain't talking about a little bit more oil. We get plenty.
Plenty oil. But here's the other thing, and that is why, and I've said it on this program and other programs, we cannot be lackadaisical and not just because they're coming here. And I'm going to say this for the umpteenth times in these programs. Our biggest fear should be who gets into office in the United States of America as the next president. Because let's say it's a Donald Trump. There is no bigger transactionalist than this guy. And he's already showed an inclination to align himself with Russia, which is which is a real sad state of affairs. And this guy, we always have to remember that Venezuela, it's all about oil. Venezuela recoverable reserves, Dr. Hines, is 303 billion barrels of oil. Ours is what? Right now it's 11. Even if it gets up to 20, Venezuela is 303. Where do you think a Donald Trump, if he has to pick a side, where do you think a Donald Trump will go? And especially since Russia is, of course, Venezuela is a satellite, basically, of Russia. So that's what we've got to fear more than anything else. I'm not afraid of Venezuela invading, even though we still got to be on our P's and Q's. What Guyanese have to fear more than anything else is who gets into office. And if it's a Donald Trump, that could be very serious for Guyana.
That could be very serious for Guyana. Yes, oh God, we have the historians here. Dr. Eric Williams once said, oil don't spoil. Somebody said, but it has done though.
Yes.
Don't run up.
Exactly. It is done. That's exactly. Whoever that person is raised a very, very important point here in that exploitation. Exxon doesn't come to Guyana because they love us. Exxon comes to Guyana to make as much money as possible, as fast as possible, because when their 30 years are over, they're gone. And we are left with whatever are the remains and residuals of the impacts on the environment, on the economy. That is why it's important in terms of how we govern. And that is why this whole question about the contract and what is our share that we're getting 14.5%. And they're getting 85.5%, Exxon and Sunoc and those type of folks, which is, I don't have to go through that anymore because it's been beaten to death over and over. But so those are the kinds of things we got to make sure that we get our fair share, Dr. Hines, so that when this and invest in our people, so that when they're gone, we've got the platform to be sustainable after oil. That's what we've got to. And by the way, it's not infrastructure again. It starts with education. It starts with education to get investors. So it's an important it's an important comment.
Important observation there by Mark. Dr. Eric Williams said that oil don't spoil. Mark, as you know, we got we people them who just chronicle the thing.
Yeah.
We got our people who chronicle the thing. Oil don't spoil.
If I like, ask Kamal about the bacchanal down at the convention when Ivan asked Williams, Doc, why Venezuela don't want me to smelter? Doctor, can you tell me why Jamaica vex with me? Eric say, tell Manley and Burnham I've got oil. Let Barrow kiss me tail, oil don't spoil. Three of them come like three blind mice. Don't you know, Manley, Burnham, Barrow, they're running about only setting strife, cutting their tails with Venezuela's knife. Did you ever see such jackasses in your life as them three blind mice? Ivan said, look, doctor, didn't you ask Venezuela for warships to help we in the 70 mutiny? From Barrow we get rum, from Manly aluminum, Burnham feeding we with rice, yet you calling him a blind mice. Eric said, let Burnham keep he rice, I've got oil. They will have to pay my price. Oil don't spoil. Three of them come like three blind mice. Don't you know? Don't have a rule. I treat them like if they were my wife. I give them money like peas by Christ, but it's my own throat they're trying to slice. Them three blind mice. So true. Goodbye.
This is very good.
Them three mice do not know is I have them on the toe. Food for them to be fed. Without me, all of them dead. is my people have to toil to give them pitch and oil. Yet they back in Venezuela and don't want my land to smelter. Eric say they value my money as dirt, but I've got oil. 80 cents they say it is worth, but oil don't spoil.
Did you? How did you just pull that up? I mean, you've got a what? You got a repository there just waiting.
Yes, the wonderful thing if you're a student of Calypso, as I am, I teach courses on it. So, I usually tell my students, I go into class, I said, call any topic under the sun, and I will pull a Calypso on it.
Wow.
And any topic they call, from abortion to what, because they're Americans, so they come in American topic. I pull out a Calypso, it is the greatest music in the world. It's interesting how history comes back,
Yep. I agree.
Because Eric was talking about our bauxite from Jamaica and Guyana, with the oil from Trinidad to set up a smelter plant and so on.
Right. I remember that.
And Venezuela was doing the same thing as Venezuela is doing today. Venezuela trying to pick off Guyana and Jamaica and so on.
Yep.
And Chuck Dust put it in song. The interest. Thank you very much, Mark, for reminding us that Eric said oil don't spoil. Dr. Adams, 500 nurses, and we suspect there are many more to come. 500 nurses are being recruited from Bangladesh. The government has given the go-ahead. As with everything with this government, there is a text and there is a subtext. Talk to us. What's the text? What's the subtext?
Well, there are several things here. First of all, I guess we can all figure out why Bangladesh. To start. So I don't think it takes a whole lot of imagination. Secondly, here you are. We have our nurses, and my understanding is, and I could be, I stand corrected if what I'm saying is not right. My understanding is that these nurses will be paid much more than Guyana's nurses. On top of that, they will have living quarters for free. The only thing that they're going to have to buy is essentially food, which is grossly unfair. Or well, you can figure out the motives behind it. But here we are, instead of trying to retain our nurses, we shut down. For example, here we are short of nurses in Guyana. And when this administration came into office, what was one of the first things that they did? They shut down the nursing school in Region 10, which was at Linden. And forever, since I was a little kid, that nursing school used to produce all kinds of nurses. And I remember for their final year or something, they used to come to Georgetown for their final year. But that nursing school was there going way back, like I said, since I was a little kid. Or even probably before I was even born, I wouldn't know. But as soon as they got into, they shut down that nursing school, Dr. Hines, in Linden. And now we have a shortage of nurses. They're building 12 hospitals. And to get the nurses, they're going abroad. But here, it shows the incompetence of this government. One of the most important things in management that you learn very early is staff retention. It is staff retention. It costs you a lot of money to when your staff, especially your good staff, when they leave, because these folks are coming in. Their language is going to be different to ours, even though they might be speaking English. It's going to be different. Their culture is going to be different. All of us might be speaking English, or we might be speaking broken English, if you will, and the communication, with your patients and the nurses and the doctors and everything, it's going to be totally different. They're coming in with a totally different culture. But retention is the key. I remember, Dr. Hines, when I worked for the U.S. government, even at, like I said, at the highest level, in my performance plan, we had five core values there that we had to meet, and one of those, in one of the most important one of those pillars, was how do you treat your staff, retention, how do you manage your staff, in terms of retaining and developing your staff. So when I write my performance, my accomplishment, I had to emphasize what I did for my staff in terms of development. Even if they got promoted and went to another department, that was a plus for me because they were staff development. But if staff leaves, that's a big negative. So instead of going to that fundamentals of doing the things to retain staff, develop staff, they're going, well, when I listen to the vice president get on television and say, well, it's a no, never mind. We're going to train them and let them go. He says those type of things here, he would be fired immediately, Dr. Hines. He would be fired. But he says those things, well, we'll train them, let them go. That is absolute nonsense. His performance should be judged according to retention of our people. Train them, build more nursing schools rather than shutting down the nursing school in Linden, and train our nurses and give them the incentive to stay in nursing and to encourage other students to join, or other interested parties to come in and join the profession. That's what he should do, rather than just saying, never mind, we're going to bring in Bangladesh here. I ain't hear he's saying they're going to bring in people from Haiti or Africa, but we're hearing Bangladeshi.
Dr. Adams, you will remember when slavery ended in the United States of America, there was something called the American Colonization Society, which advocated returning African people, black people, to Africa, get them out of America because they can't exist in a state of freedom. Some of them they sent back to Africa and they formed a country called Liberia. They had sent some to an island of Haiti. It was so inhabitable there that they had to bring them back. But their position was, get them out of here. We don't want them here to contaminate us. And to hear the vice president saying, we're going to train them and let them go away. We don't want them here. They don't vote for we. They don't look like we. Hey, let them go. We're going to bring people in who look like we and going to vote for we. I say no more, as the big men in the village would say, as the big men in Linden would say. The parliament they used to, and I think they still have the parliament there, Dr. Vince, they still have the parliament there with them big men and so on.
Yep. Yeah, they still have it by the market there. They still have it.
I say no more. I say no more. Dr. Adams, let's move over to the hearings before the United Nations Human Rights Committee. It's not going away. Today, in today's newspapers, you get about 5 or 6 headlines. And we in Guyana usually say, well, all right, we had the hearings, they pull up the government, they grill them. What next? We move on. Apparently, we're not moving on. And we're going to come to you just now. But before we get to you, we saw in this morning papers the committee called on the government to hold an inquiry into what went on after the jailbreak in 2002. All those hundreds of people who were killed and so on. Hold an inquiry. And the government said yes. Remember when Dr. Luncheon died a few months ago?
Yep.
And Mr. Vice President was speaking. He said that Dr. Luncheon went to his grave
with a lot of secrets.
With a lot of secrets about what happened during that period.
Yeah.
So when Jack Dio said, yes, we're going to hold an inquiry He know the inquiry gonna be inconclusive because one of the players gone to his grave with secret. And he, Jack Dio, as a former president, is likely to say, I am not going to give evidence because I have immunity. Dr. Adams, we are in for serious times. Talk to us. You are the doctor.
you see what has happened here, Dr. Hines. These folks are so used to having their way in Guyana. They could say anything. You talk about with impunity. Even in Parliament, our highest forum for the law, they get up there and they spout everything. They're defended by the speaker. They muzzle the opposition. They can't say anything. You cannot even get a motion. The opposition tried several motions. They can't even get it. It's stopped in its tracks. So they're used to saying anything, getting away with anything, and they're not being held accountable. I mean, the vice president does it every week. So when they go to these forums, such as an international forum, they forget where they're there, Dr. Hines. They just forget. They think that they're talking to their people back in Guyana. And especially, she was on a Zoom call. So she wasn't even sitting in Geneva. She was sitting back in Guyana, probably in our office. When I look at the behind her, she had like 12 people sitting behind her, including a security guy with his uniform. I said, wait, because I didn't know that it was by Zoom. So I was taken aback for a while. I said, wait a minute. They took that entire entourage down to Geneva. But again, they have these people sitting behind her as props, and she went on as if she was speaking to the opposition in Parliament here, to be so rude and so arrogant, to be telling them that your question is inappropriate. It is odd, and then you see, and they sat there, and then she was kind of like she was in shock when the people fired back at her and said, listen, let me tell you something. We did our research. When we ask you these questions are legitimate, valid questions. And you come here the way that you're behaving, it does not lend for a good relationship, if you will, in terms of how we progress it. And they called her out. And so now it's all over the world, because see, they're used to their echo chamber, Dr. Hine. They're used to this echo chamber. But now the echo chamber has grown so big that there's no echo anymore because it's gone international. That echo chamber is not confined out again. So they're not getting it. It's not an echo chamber anymore because now it's gone wide. So that is what has shocked them, that the eyes of the world are on them now. So whenever they lie, and now they've established a reputation, a bad reputation, with a forum such as the United States, and I mean the United Nations, as a pack of liars, which is what we have been calling them out all the time. But it didn't matter to them because they know that they've got their followers who are going to believe it. But now they've got this international eyes on it. So now, whenever they lie, it's going to be exposed, which is a good thing. This UN thing here was a godsend. Even though, we don't get it often. I think the next one is 8 years. But at least it has started something here. And hopefully it will not go away. Hopefully it will not go away.
Hopefully it will not go away. And that period, as President Granger used to call it, or still calls it, the period of the troubles. And let me give you all a little bit history about this thing. President Granger wanted an inquiry. The PPP said, if you're going to hold an inquiry on what happened from 2002 to 2006, it's not enough. We must own an inquiry of violence going back to the Burnham years. And so they stalled the inquiry. Now the white people say, inquiry, as Dr. Adams said, they get brackled. They get brackled. They get brackled by the white people. And so they could have tell Dr. Granger, Mr. Granger, well, we don't want to hold it. If you're holding inquiry about what happened with the violence, we want to go back to violence in the Burnham time. Now the white people brackle them. They ain't get mouth for tell the white people about porn on time. They say yes. But they're hoping that they're going to be able to trick the inquiry because Mr. Luncheon dead and gone. But Mr. Luncheon wasn't the only player. Jack Dio is still alive. Gatraj dead. But Ramsamy is still alive. Y'all remember when they catch them with at Good Hope with the big fancy equipment? Is who minister? It went back to that sign for the equipment that these non-military people had on the East Coast. Oh Lord, oh God. Teacher George, if Teacher George was alive and he heard this news, he'll say, oh Jesus Christ, world go end now. World go end now. Because locked up under that period of 2002, some may say to 2006, some may say to 2008, there is a lot that is locked there. A lot of people died. A lot of people were murdered. A lot of people buried at the back of my village were killed and buried there without, at least they hang Jesus Christ on the cross today. A lot of people during that period didn't even have the opportunity to be hung on the cross. They killed them, and a lot of people buried at the back of my village there. There is a lot. And I hope this inquiry is going to be, I hope the international community is going to pay attention to it so that this government is not going to be able to try to pull a fast one on us. As Dr. Adams said, that inquiry was a godsend. Was a godsend.
But
Dr.
you know, Dr. Hines, the other thing is that people ought to be paying attention in terms of the eyes of the world is on us. And you remember the young lady, the diplomat who was stopped coming through the U.S. What's her name? Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, guess what? A couple of days ago, guess what happened? A police officer, I think they said that he's in charge of the CID or something, from Guyana, got the exact same treatment. They stopped him and I can't remember which airport we coming through. They stopped him, and there was a big, they stopped him and questioned him, and so we want to see what is going to come out of that. So the eyes of the world, and there's all kinds of questions. I noticed when they asked the vice president about it yesterday, of course he said yes, it happened, and they're waiting for a report from the officer. What's the name of it? I can't remember the name of the officer, but nevertheless, he was stopped in the United States. Nobody knows if they took away whatever credentials he had for whether he had a U.S. passport or what. But anyway, that was an investigation, and that should not also go on the back pages of the newspaper. That should stay right up front. It's all in this whole, this whole thing that we're seeing, this whole culture of this current PPP in terms of what they're involved in and those type of things. The world is watching now. The world is watching now. So they're losing control, Dr. Hines. They're used to controlling everything in Guyana and basically controlling everybody, because as soon as you say anything and you get out of that control, you're punished. You retaliated against. So now, hopefully, countries such as the United States and organizations such as the UN, international organizations such as the UN, will hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable. Seafarer's Pride is saying Jack Dio is the leader. Is he does lead the party? So not name them and blame the dead man. They're going to try to throw everything upon Luncheon because they know he's dead and gone. But we should not allow that to happen. Jack Dio is alive. All the other ministers are alive. They were all there. Many of them maybe were not part of the engine room, but we know that some of them were part of the engine room, and they will have to talk. We hope they don't commit suicide before the before
But
this.
Dr. Hines, the other thing that really stunned me is, why would this man, the vice president of this country, go mention something like that at a funeral? Is it just, is this just dumb, or is it just arrogance, or what is it? I mean, why would he go and say something like that? I mean, if there's, I would have keep my mouth shut. But so now he is raised that he's opened up the whole can of worms for himself, and I hope that it just does this also. I hope it just doesn't go away.
I hope it doesn't go away either. I opened the papers during the week and I noticed that you send a liar's letter, as we just said. And I grew up in the village where they say, "Me will send a liar letter upon you to you." We will send a liar letter when hey, you, Dr. Adams said, remember, big news in us, blah, 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 blah. And since one party said, we will send a liar letter, and we go walk up the long step, cause it out done. The Frank liar letter bad. But, so, it's a liar letter you sent to Teixeira?
Yes. Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. And again, we've got to hold these people accountable. That woman went up to the United Nations, and in here, giving her, well, she didn't went up. She she was in the forum, and that woman, again, for no reason, and that's what they do all the time when they can't answer questions. They pull stuff out of the air. Stuff doesn't just come into their head, or they're just getting insane. They're just losing it. But this woman got there. And this woman said, this woman placed me in Guyana in 2016 when the contract was signed, and said I was in charge of that contract. I oversaw that contract. And I was part of hiding this signing bonus, which the numbers out there all the time, $18 million that the government got from Exxon. I was in charge of all of this stuff. When at the same time, Dr. Hine, I was doing my job with the United States government, working at the highest level of the government, with the highest national security clearance within the Department of Energy, working on some, in charge of some highly classified stuff. So here it is that she is placing me in Guyana in 2016, and I did not arrive in Guyana until October 1st of 2018. 2 years, 3 months, she's placing me in Guyana and telling me that I'm doing all of these stuff. I've signed this bad contract, and I was part of hiding this $18 million. So I was not gonna just sit back and let it now. How do I look in the eyes of my colleagues in the United States government when she's giving them the impression, Dr. Hines, that somehow, I'm betraying it? That's traitorous for me to
Yes.
be working for the US government at that level with that security, and at the same time serving the government of Guyana. But it got even worse. If that wasn't shocking enough, the very next day, after of course, I sent my letter immediately to the UN the same night. I think it was Monday. And they gave her a second chance to retract the next day. They said, well, okay, there may be some inconsistencies here, because Dr. Adams was in the United States at the time and working for the US government, and you were saying that he was in Guyana and he was in charge of this country. Instead of taking your licks quietly and high, eat crow and be quiet, the woman decided she was still gonna dig in. So guess what she says? But this year would even made it even more stupid. And that's what I'm saying, that she and the others might be losing it, because the woman said, well, since he was there from 2019, so now she's shifting from 2016 now to 2019. She says since he's been at EPA from 2019 and onward, of course, she even got that wrong, because I was there in 2018. You think that they would have gone in for that night and come back and say, look and do the research with all of them people being sit down behind you. The woman said, well, since he has been there since 2019, he had no problems with implementing that contract. However, we cannot change that now because it's a legal contract. So here it is. She's saying that I was implementing the contract at the EPA, but even though it's legal, I should not. I was doing a bad thing by implementing it. But it's okay for them to go ahead with it because it's a legal contract. So it's legal for them. But she's saying that I was implementing. And furthermore to that, again, I don't know whether it's just ignorance or incompetence or whatever it is. The EPA does not implement that contract. The EPA has nothing to do with that contract. The EPA didn't write that contract nor manage that contract. That was done by the National Resource Agency. The only thing that the EPA does is implement the environmental aspects of that contract, which is required by law. Whether it's wrong or right or indifferent or that was my function of the EPA. We have to, but she's saying, well, he had no problems with him implementing this bad contract. However, we don't have a choice because it's legal. So I had a choice. So she tell me that I should have broken the contract, but they can't break it because, and I should not have implemented the environmental aspect, but they can. They can't because it's a legal document. So that's the stupidity of this. Instead of backing up, so she dig a deeper hole now, and I'm going to hold her accountable. I'm not going to let. This series is
no. It's a serious charge
absolutely
against you, and you have every right. Have they responded to your lawyer?
No, not well. They got 7 days. I think the second 7 days expired today. To first of all, to apologize to begin with, and say what would be the damages, and if not so, we're gonna know at least tomorrow what is going on from here on out. But I'm gonna she's gonna be, she and probably the government is gonna be held accountable for it.
Going to be held accountable for it. Dr. Vincent Adams here being openly lied on by the representative of the government. He has sent her a lawyer's letter. They have not responded to the lawyer's letter. And Dr. Adams says he's not going to let it go. And you are saying here tonight, the number of you, that he should not let it go. He should not let it go. Dr. Adams, anything you go ahead.
Dr. Hines, the one thing you see, these are the kinds of things that come to fore as part that builds your character and make you into who you are when you grow up in a place such as Christianburg and Albaistown. You never allow yourself to be beaten down. You never allow anybody to take advantage of you, even if you got to fight and lose. Because the one thing a bully doesn't like, even if you're not winning a fight, a bully ain't like you fight back. So you fight, even if you're gonna lose, you fight them. So when you grow up in those areas, I'm not gonna let her intimidate, because that's what they used to be doing. And I am not gonna allow it for her to be defaming me and without some kind of a punishment for it.
Without some kind of punishment fit. Dr. Adams, anything you wanted to comment on that I didn't get a chance to ask you?
Well, there's something, a new thing is brewing now, the vice president, and coming up with the tricks. What you're hearing now, every press conference now, you're hearing about this new oil spill legislation. I want to tell Guyana, pay attention. This is trickery, because what they're doing with this new oil spill legislation is to get rid of Judge Kissoon's ruling. Remember what that was. Judge Kissoon says that there has to be a full liability coverage for any spill, meaning that the government should not be responsible for paying a dime of that cost. All of that cost have to go to the producers, meaning Exxon with a parent company guarantee. You remember that strong ruling? So it's unlimited. It's unlimited coverage. Remember what they came back and said? No, we cannot go with unlimited. It's gonna be $2 billion. So that's what this legislation will do. I'll be willing to bet you anything, and I guarantee you this legislation will water down that unlimited guarantee for to cover a spill. And when they put that into law, Judge Kissoon ruling is gone. It's gone. It doesn't, because the parliament legislature overrides any judge's decision. So that's what we're dealing with. So this here is another trickery to get rid of that ruling by Judge Kissoon. They fought it, they appealed it, and I think they're seeing that, especially in public opinion and all of the opinion from all over the world, they've got to come up with a new trick. And this trick is this legislation.
This legislation, but of course, the court still has the right to say whether that legislation is consistent with our constitution or not consistent.
That is correct. I'm sure that they're gonna put something. They're gonna make sure that it's in because your constitution, you got to protect the environment, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, but the way that they're gonna word it, you watch it. It's gonna be a trickery. That's their trickery. And I'm saying this because all Guyanese and West Indians, because a spill is not an oil spill doesn't see borders. Okay, so it's all the Caribbean people and Guyana. Pay attention to this legislation. So let's see what they're going to come out with.
I like that headline on the screen. What do you think of it?
A billboard when it comes to he's absolutely correct. I've been saying that. The Judge Kissoon has said that. What more evidence does the people need when the same, going back to Judge Kissoon ruling, when this man got behind the government to go and appeal alongside Exxon against its own people's interest? Who would not want to tell Exxon, you've got, as simple as this, Exxon, come in and produce all the oil you want. Make as much money as you want, because that's what we've told him. However, all we're asking you, if there's an oil spill, you're going to be responsible for cleaning up. What could be more reasonable than that? This Mr. Jaglio went against that, alongside Exxon, went against the people to say, no, that's not the case. We only $2 billion is enough. Do you know what the Macondo spill in the Gulf cost? $145 billion. Our entire national budget this last year was $5 billion. So here we are. If we get a spill, as in the Gulf, $145 billion, and our entire national budget is $5 billion, who the hell is going to pay for that? Not to mention what's going to happen with the Caribbean. Their entire tourism would be gone, which is the base of their economy. Fishing would be gone. And then we would wash away Venezuela coast. So if you want to give Venezuela a reason to come after it, wash away their coastline with oil. So this whole thing, so he's absolutely correct. Everything that Exxon says, they get. They went and they removed a whole lot of stuff that we had put in there when I was at the EPA to protect against the spill. They've got Exxon producing through greed, Dr. Hines. Exxon was supposed to be producing at 100,000 barrels per day. The safe limit is 120,000 barrels per day in Liza 1, and they did the same thing in the others. They're producing at 160,000 barrels per day, which is above the safety limit. The environmental impact assessment that does all the safety analysis says the safe operating limit is 120,000 barrels per day. And in order not to even get close to that limit, you put an internal limit in the EIA that says, okay, you're going to operate at 100,000. So you're 20% lower. They not only did they not exceed, did they exceed the safety limit, they exceeded by about 30 something percent to 160,000 barrels per day through greed, which means that they're enhancing the opportunity for a spill, and then we don't have anything to cover a spill when it occurs. They're dumping produced water into the ocean when we had put in place that you've got to re-inject it back into the reservoir. The produced water is hot, 3 times the ocean water. It has oil in it. It has toxic materials such as mercury, lead, and radioactivity. So though they're flaring, like without we said flaring is prohibited, they charge a measly little fine. That is an incentive, by the way, because if they in order to stop flaring, you cut back on certain amount of production. They prefer not to do that because they'll be losing money, but they prefer to flare. They pay a little bitty fine, which is like 25 to 30 times um, less than the money that they would be making by flaring. But in terms of the increased production, they don't have to cut back on production. The money that they would be making from flaring on the produced oil is 30 times more than the little fee that they're paying for flaring. So isn't that an incentive? So these are the kind of things that they're going out there. And it's all because that's what Exxon wants. That is what Exxon wants. And that is what Exxon was not getting away with when I was there at the EPA. So that headline there, Barrett just doing anything that Exxon wants, it's a fact. The information is there. The evidence is there, clear as crystal.
Dr. Vincent Adams, my brother, as usual, it's always a pleasure to have you on a Friday night. You send us into the weekend with our spirits lifted. And of course, this is the Easter weekend, the weekend in which we celebrate or we observe the crucifixion of the Christ child and his rise from the ashes, from the dead.
Yep.
On the third morn, he rose again. Today is Good Friday, the day when he was betrayed and crucified. We may not, we do not know, we cannot tell what pain
he had to bear.
But what we do know, he hung and suffered there, and he died for us. He died for us. Let us remember the crucifixion of the Christ child. But more importantly, that he overcame it. He overcame it. The anthem of the civil rights movement in the United States, we shall overcome. We shall overcome.
We shall overcome.
And we have always overcome. My brother, have a good Easter weekend with your family, and I'll see you next week.
Definitely. Take care, Dr. Hines, and all the listeners.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you do have a wonderful weekend. Those of you who are in Guyana, take a couple of days off with the family. Go fly your kites. Pack your basket. Go to the seawall or go to the ball field, wherever you all go, and enjoy your Easter. Enjoy your Easter. And then when we come back on Monday, which will be Easter Monday, we will continue our struggle. We will continue our struggle. Happy Easter to you until I see you all again on Monday.